Well, hello everyone, welcome back to Connect Groups. So before I go into a quick review, I want to give you some suggestions. So we're a few weeks into this semester, and for some of you, this is the first time you've ever been a part of a group. So let me give you a suggestion, and here it is. As quick as you can, start to open up. Now I realize how intimidating that is. I really do. I can sympathize with you. But the quicker you start to open up and share what you're going through, telling some more of your personal stories, the quicker your group can bond and just really form that connection of trust together. And I know that's intimidating, but the more you open up and you start to hear other people open up, it creates this effect where people start to trust each other more, and you will actually get more out of the group. If your group stays really surfacey throughout, you will not enjoy Connect Groups. Just trust me on this. You will wonder, what is everyone else talking about when they're talking about how great they are and how they're like family, because you'll never get deeper than just that surface friendship. So as quick as you can open up, the better it is for your group. All right, now let me take a moment and do a quick review of this past Sunday and give you plenty of time to discuss this as a group. So this past Sunday is a message that I think was somewhat complicated in that we had to go through a process to get where we needed to go. What we're talking about is this idea that we have the power to make good or bad choices and then to deal with the consequence of those choices. So as we've gone through this series and we're building week by week, we now have kind of switched gears and are starting to look at the idea that Jesus has called us to love God and love people. But the only way we can truly love people, and this is what we looked at this past week, the only way we can truly love people is to first love God. God is the one who allows our hearts and the capacity of our hearts to increase so that we can actually show the love that He's called us to do. So when we look at this, we were kind of examining the idea that there are certain things that can increase our capacity and there are other things that can decrease our capacity. So if we want to start on the positives first, things like love increases our capacity to love. Generosity, grace, when someone is patient or kind with you, that opens up your hearts to want to love more and to release that, I would say, in a better way. Then there are some things that can decrease it. Things like hurt and pain and shame and unforgiveness. And I think we understand that. But what we looked at is the number one increaser of capacity is to love God, to be in His presence. The number one, in my opinion, the number one decreaser of capacity is actually busyness, because busyness pulls us away from spending that quality time with God. And in His presence, that's when God brings the healing and starts to change things in our lives so that our capacity can grow. So when we get super busy, honestly, the relationship with God just gets put on the back burner, and that's the reason why it's so devastating to us. It's not that busyness is some worse sin or even in and of itself a sin. It's the product of what busyness produces in our lives. And that is, it pulls us away from the intimacy that we desire for God and that God desires for us. And so we looked at, how does busyness actually start to take place in our lives? Because no one really loves being busy. Now, some people say, actually say that, I like to be busy. What they mean is like they like to constantly do stuff and be productive. But when we cross over to just being busy all the time and there's no freedom to relax in our lives, that is actually a learned thing. It's very unhealthy. And the reason that happens in our lives is rooted in fear. We're afraid to say no to people. We're afraid to say no to things. We think we have to take all the responsibility on ourselves and be responsible to take care of ourselves. So I'm afraid to say no to a boss because I don't want to lose a job. I'm afraid to say no to a supervisor because I might not get that promotion. I'm afraid to say no to my kids because I want them to have all the activities so that they don't turn out strange or less than other people. I'm afraid to say no because I don't want people to judge me. I don't want people to think I'm not important or that I'm not productive in my life. And so we just keep saying yes and yes and yes. We get busier and busier. God gets put on the back burner because unfortunately God seems like a choice that we can make, like that He is expendable. And so what happens then is we get separated from God, our hearts start to grow cold, our capacity for love shrinks, and what happens is we start making worse choices in our lives, and it's this really destructive cycle. And so, again, that's a quick recap of Sunday. Hopefully you understood Sunday, that it touched your heart and your mind. And so here's what I want you to talk about as a group. Why is it that you're so busy? Why is it? What is it that you're fearing as a group, as individuals in that group, that you need to trust God more so that God can bring the true freedom and healing in your life, so that you can love Him well, receive His love well, so that you in turn can love people well and receive their love well? So again, I kind of just blazed through that, but hopefully you already understood what I was talking about. I love you guys. I'm so proud of you. I keep hearing all the reports about how groups are going just going awesome, and that it makes my heart glad. Love you. See you Sunday.